That's going to be fun to say. Good morning, Minneapolis. Welcome to Friday, October 23rd, 2020. Yes, it's still 2020. We're sorry to report. In other obvious news, white folks, if you're trying to teach your kids how to speak Spanish, start with chinga la migra. All right, today, the 23rd, we are very sad to report that yesterday, a police in Waukegan, Illinois, shot and killed an unarmed teenage black man and critically injured his girlfriend on the night of October 20th. The family of 19-year-old Marcellus Stinnett said he was sitting in a car with his girlfriend and mother of his child, Tafara Williams, when police shot and killed him. Stinnett's family said he died at the scene, while police said he died at the hospital. Now, the issue with this is we usually see with many incidents with police shooting and killing unarmed black men, or just shooting and killing black men, whether they're armed or not, posing a threat or not, is that the narrative is going to change. And that's kind of what we do here at Onsite Public Media, is we try to make sure that the narrative gets out that actually happened. When you read the narratives of many people of color and just people in general that have been killed by police, you usually see the reports say that the person was fleeing the scene, that the person was very dangerous. In this case, we're seeing two opposite stories being told, and that Marcellus was sitting in his car, whereas the police are saying that, well, he was trying to flee the scene. The other story that's being spun by the cops is where Marcellus died. People are saying that Marcellus died in his car, where he was shot, killed, and murdered. See, it's so easy. Just murder. Just say it. He was murdered by the cops. Murder. Where he was shot, killed, and murdered by the police was in his car, whereas the police in Waukegan are saying that he died at the hospital. If that story sounds familiar, well, you probably heard it in the case of George Floyd, where they say that George didn't die where he was actually choked out when Derek Chauvin put his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds plus. They're saying that George died later on somewhere else. We're hearing the same thing about Marcellus, where cops don't have to yet take accountability again for a black person that they murdered. It's also important to point out that Waukegan is just south of Kenosha, Wisconsin, where Jacob Blake was shot several times in the back by Kenosha police and rendered paralyzed from the waist down. So, moving on. 545 children are without parents. Yes, lawyers say they can't find the parents of 545 children separated from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border by order of Donald Trump. Of the 1,000 plus children separated at the border over the past 2 years, 545 cannot find their parents. If it sounds like a dystopian post-apocalyptic future, it's not. It's your country and you voted for it. Moving along, in Bolivia, socialists in Bolivia are celebrating a historic victory after a candidate handpicked by their ousted leader, Evo Morales, was on course to win the country's most important presidential election in a generation. Luis Arce, a former economy minister during the Morales era, is poised to be officially confirmed as the winner after his main rival conceded, even before the official count from Sunday's election was complete. This is important for reasons that I can't fully explain because I'm not fully informed on it. So you're going to hear from Onsite Public Media intern / know-it-all, Francisco Sanchez. Francisco, why is this so important?
A year ago, there was an election and an indigenous socialist won, Evo Morales. Then the US came in and was like, indigenous socialist? Nah. This election is rigged. So they came in, slapped a white woman into power, and then they were like, all right, we're going to hold another election. And they're like, oh wait, COVID, we can't hold another election. Finally, they hold an election. Weird. Another indigenous socialist is elected.
Okay, you say that it's important because it's one of the first indigenous presidents elected in Bolivia. Isn't everybody indigenous in Bolivia?
So as we know, colonization came in and tried to wipe out the indigenous people across the Americas. The thing with Bolivia is that a lot of the indigenous people survived, and they're actually a majority indigenous population. It would be like if 60% of the population of the United States was Native American.
White people try to colonize Bolivia too? Man, that's f***ed up. Meet Art Knight, a 28-year veteran who's a black cop on the Minneapolis police force. If you can't make that out, thank you, Francisco, for putting that picture up there. He was at a January testimony speaking to city council discussing de-escalating tactics and said that 3 to 6% of the cops on the force shouldn't be there. Quote, I'll be the first one to say that, Knight said. We have some members on this force that shouldn't be there. Holy you don't say. Department spokesman John Elder said what Knight actually meant is that cops deal with 3 to 6% of the population. John, why you lying, dog? Why you lying? You know that we know that you know you lying, dog, so stop lying. You lying like a motherfucker, John. Dude, stop lying, John. Why are you lying? You know, John Elder looks like the older uncle or like younger grandpa at the Thanksgiving dinner table that still uses the word Negro. You know, John, he looks like the least trustworthy salesman at the used car lot. John actually lies so much, he should be the spokesman for the Vikings. You know, we're 1-5, but we're still rebuilding. Every dollar that we pay Kirk Cousins is well worth it. Lies. Back to old Art Knight. So, at the time of that city council meeting, Art was chief of the department and chief of staff. However, Art was demoted to lieutenant after being quoted by the Star Tribune this past Sunday. In Minneapolis, budget cuts terminated the community service officer program, quoted by the Star Tribune, a 2-year curriculum that funnels diverse applicants onto the police department while they earn their law enforcement degree. Top brass hopes to restore the program next year, but admit they will have to take another look at the way the agency recruits, trains, and promotes ethnic minorities. Okay, 1 second. Who the hell is still using the word ethnic minorities? Is this like 1992 and it's the DARE program? Ethnic minorities. Is this like an after-school special? Ethnic minorities. Am I John Elder, like the old white grandpa at the Thanksgiving dinner table? Like ethnic minorities is just like a small stop away from Negro, or I digress. Back to that. Ethnic minorities and women on the force. If you keep employing the same tactics, said MPD Chief of Staff Art Knight, quote, you're just going to get the same old white boys. Same old white boys. Wonder who he's thinking of. God. It's weird because it seems that white cops can fail upwards when saying sexist, vulgar, and racist things, yet when a black cop speaks the truth, he gets demoted. Gosh, I wonder which black cop next that's speaking the truth is going to get demoted. Sounds about right. Public Works for White Public decided to show themselves in full a few weeks ago, offering up a steaming pile of survey regarding 38th and Chicago Avenue. If you don't know what 38th and Chicago Avenue is, it's basically the site of the lynching tree, where George Floyd was murdered by Minneapolis Police Department and basically caused inherent and intrinsic trauma throughout the entire community, city, and pretty much the globe. Going back to that spot, it's a place now that's an autonomous zone where there's no traffic allowed going through, and certainly no cops are allowed in there too. People meet in the square and are allowed to commiserate, speak with one another. There's community meetings at 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. every single day. They have breakfast on the barricades. We sit, we laugh, we sing, we have a good time, and there's no cops allowed, and it's just fine. The square has been established by the people for the people as a healing space. The problem with Public Works is it's offered up a survey that says, hey, would you like traffic to go through here? Would you like traffic to go through here? Or would you like traffic to go through here? All three options that just mention traffic going through the square and no mention of George Floyd. Okay, what the There was a black man that was just brutally murdered on 38th in Chicago, and here comes Public Works for White Public showing up. Hey guys, we're looking to winterize 38th in Chicago. Which lanes do you want us to open up here? And do you want it two ways or one way? What's going on? This is the most Minnesotan thing that Minnesotans ever do. It's not a subjective or an objective answer. It's just pure dismissal. Public Works should have just basically the slogan, George who?
We received, in a pretty short amount of time, a little less than 2 weeks, 929 responses.
Oh, that's not an attempt to lull you to sleep. That was just Robin Hutchinson, the director of Public Works, speaking. And speaking to the remarkably high rate of responses that they got to their survey given out just a little over 2 weeks ago regarding 38th in Chicago, with no mention of the brutal murder of George Floyd. All three options mentioned opening up the streets. And take a look at the numbers. Here's the trick they try to pull on you. They say 65% said open up the streets. Everybody else said no justice, no streets, or no traffic going through 38th in Chicago. They don't even tell you who picked what in their survey. They just said 65% of the people played along. The people that actually know what's going on and decided to not play along said no justice, no streets. So 65% of the people took the survey. Everybody else said that.
As we work through the city's strategic racial equity action plan, and as we as departments are getting more accustomed to preparing racial equity impact analysis, or RIAs, for our actions that we present to you, the council, I wanted to make sure that we use disaggregate data when we talked about race.
Does it sound like Robin's having a tough time pronouncing racial equity action plans or racial equity impact analysis? It's because it is. And it's probably because it's the first time she's had to talk about racial inequity in her whole career. Look, I'm having a hard time with it too, because you're watching the director of public works give out science and data to dismiss a modern day lynching of somebody in the city of Minneapolis. And if this sounds profoundly dehumanizing and offensive, it's because it is.
This is not intended to be scientific. It is intended to continue to gather feedback about design options for winter and to supplement prior engagement efforts.
So, teamed up with Robin's not intended to be scientific racism is the dismissal of several community members' proposal of the 24 demands. Yes, Councilmember Andrea Jenkins asked several community members of 38th and Chicago, what does justice look like? They handed her 24 demands to open up 38th Street back to the public and vehicle traffic. Where Robin and the Public Works for White Public goes wrong is in not mentioning a single one of those demands in their George Floyd Who survey. Well, not everything is bad news. There's actually people that are showing up to fill elected official seats, run for campaign and city council, and who knows, maybe somebody might try to get Gentrify out of the seat at mayor. Robin Wansley will be running for city council, and if elected, she will be the first Black Democratic Socialist woman on the city council. So if you're looking to run for city council, start the campaign now. You can find Robin Wansley on Instagram, Facebook, all over. And it's not to say that we're promoting her, it's just to say that it's important to point out that new people are coming to the fold. Robin's been working in politics for some time, however, is running for city council for the first time in the information that I know of. But you can find more information on Robin Wansley below. And if you want to run for city council, go ahead. Why not? Also, in semi-good news today, Judge Cahill decided to not dismiss the other 3 officers an accomplice to the murder of George Floyd. So it's like giving a thumbs up for doing the bare minimum. Yeah, thanks for not dismissing the charges on those guys who basically stood by while Derek Chauvin kneeled on that guy's neck. Thanks. Also, events coming up Sunday. This Sunday, the 25th, will be the Injustice Rally for Mayim Burrell at 38th in Chicago at George Floyd Square, 3 p.m. this Sunday, October 25th. If you don't know who Mayim Burrell is, just Google the name M-Y-O-N Burrell, B-U-R-R-E-L-L. And Mayim Burrell was arrested about 18 years ago for a murder that he did not commit. And right now, a lot of people are calling for him to be freed from prison. Amy Klobuchar was responsible for locking him up and even admits that she had some wrongdoing in that case as well. Thanks, Amy. Just a little late, but okay. All right, that wraps up today's episode, Friday, October 23rd. For Good Morning Minneapolis, thank you so much for watching. Look, we can't thank y'all enough. We completed our GoFundMe goal. It's been awesome. We're working with the majority BIPOC public media group, which nobody else can say in the city. And as I said in the past vlog, it's going to take about $10K a month for us to keep moving at the pace that we want to move at. And so that's going to involve a lot of other things, setting up forums in other communities. We had a forum in Minnetonka. We're setting up a forum for Albertville, Minnesota. And we're going to just be moving around and filming and hopefully helping people get out a message in their community that they want to and help amplify the need for change in their community and just progress communities going forward. So below is a donation link to On-Site Public Media. We thank you so much for giving and supporting whatever you can. Even if you can't monetarily support, just hit share on this video. That's all it takes. Thank you so much. We love y'all, and so much love to the protesters, the leaders, the community organizers, the marshals, everybody doing their work right now. Keep the boots on the ground. Keep it going. We'll see you in the next one.